Okay, I think the participants for the session are starting to pick up. Some have already transferred from their previous sessions. If this is your first session for the day or your first session for this 2-day summit, welcome to this MESEDEV session, the Master in Entrepreneurship for Social Enterprise Development session. And it's about really professionalizing social enterprises through the countries, the Philippines' only postgraduate course on social enterprise development, right? So, thank you for choosing this session, and we'll make sure that we generate your interest to be a part of the program and the budding family of professional social entrepreneurs who have become end products, so to speak, of this MESEDEV program, right? So I'll be joined today by no less than the Dean of Ateneo de Manila University's Ateneo Graduate School of Business, Dean Jet Magsaysay. We'll also be joined by Professor Pinky Po, herself being alumna of the MESEDEV program, and of course, serial social entrepreneur, right? And not to mention, she's gonna serve as the batch guru of MESEDEV Batch 5. So we'll tell you more about the upcoming batch of MESEDEV later, right? And of course, with us is the CEO, Chief Executive Officer of the third largest cooperative in the country, right? First community cooperative, FICCO, primarily based in northern Mindanao, but would also have operations right now in the rest of the country, right? FICCO is actually one of the biggest cooperatives, and it has over 400,000 members, right? Or co-owners in their cooperative. So for those who are saying that social enterprise FICCO during the height of the pandemic had a bottom line of less than a billion pesos. So social enterprises can get that huge. It has the potential to become that big, right? And that's something that we will talk about later. And of course, last but not the least, the MESEDEV Batch 4 Batch Representative, Donald Ducto, who's also the branch manager of FICO's Camiguin branch. So later on, we'll tell you more about the peculiarity of MESEDEV Batch 4 and how we're approaching it, considering that peculiarity, right? So you're joined by these key informants, so to speak, or our resource speakers for this MESEDEV session. And we all hope that you can take home a thing or two from our discussion regarding the only postgraduate course on social enterprise development in the country, right? So when we were doing our research, of course, before I forget, I'm Carlo Sagun, right? I am the executive director of Bayan Innovation Group. For those of you who participated in the session yesterday, I also introduced. I also did an introduction in the opening. So for those of you who attended yesterday, you all know something about me already. But for those of you who are just tuning in right now, I'm Carlos Sagun. I'm the Executive Director of Bayan Innovation Group. We're co-implementing the MESEDEV program with Ateneo Graduate School of Businesses partner in this program's implementation, Bayan Academy. Right, so it's really a partnership between these two organizations, and the Bayan family of foundations is blessed to have a partner that has a nation-building agenda in Ateneo de Manila University, right? So when we were searching for other postgraduate programs in the world, the closest to us is actually Fujian Catholic University. Because during the start of COVID, we were looking for opportunities to expand the program. And the closest that we can get to finding a postgraduate course in social entrepreneurship in Asia is in Taiwan, Fujian Catholic University, which also happens to be a Jesuit school, pretty much like how Ateneo de Manila University is run by Jesuits, right? But comparing the programs, right? Their program is pretty much run like an MBA, and that's something that we can compare and contrast later on, right? As we go through the content of the MESEDEV program and its objectives, right? And with that, of course, before the discussion proper, before we pick the mind of our MESEDEV stakeholders in the room, I'd like to give a brief introduction of the course of the MESEDEV program, the Master in Entrepreneurship for Social Enterprise Development, right? It's a brief history and the way the program was designed and specific design parameters, right? So that our participants in the room who would like to join the MESEDEV can find out what they can actually expect from this postgraduate course on social enterprise development. Right, so don't worry, this is the only formal portion of this session, right? But just to aid in how I present the details of the course, I'll be using a short deck, right? So just a message of introduction, the Master in Entrepreneurship Program for Social Enterprise Development. So why ME? Because there's an ME, regular entrepreneurship track in Ateneo Graduate School of Business. And SEDEV in the ME program makes this a specialized course for social enterprise development, the acronym MESEDEV. So I'll be giving you a briefer on the program history, its design, and a snapshot of the outcomes that it has delivered relative to a couple of select alumni that we have chosen as part of this session, right? So as I told you, this is really a partnership between Ateneo Graduate School of Business and the Bayan family of foundations, right? And the Bayan family of foundations is really into democratizing entrepreneurship education. And MESEDEV is our postgraduate course, of course, co-delivered with Ateneo Graduate School of Business. But it's not only in postgraduate that we're involved in. So we have higher education programs, we have BS entrepreneurship programs, we've transitioned basic education institutions in their repositioning agenda towards their envisioned entrepreneurship curricula. And everything that we've done in postgraduate higher education, basic education, is something that we also do at the grassroots level. So everything that one can learn from the MESEDEV course, there are programs that we also push or deliver for the grassroots, such that they can also learn what uh, they could have otherwise learned in the postgraduate course, right? But of course, the postgraduate course is different. It's an 18-month program, so I will share later on, and that it really immerses its students in the technical fundamentals of social entrepreneurship and social enterprise development. And the MESEDEV program, given that this summit is about the National Social Enterprise Development Roadmap, it's really positioned in this roadmap relative to professionalizing social entrepreneurs and those involved in social enterprise management. When we say professionalizing, those who are accepted in the MESEDEV program are not your startups, right? These are the students who actually have their social enterprises and are really to bring it up to greater heights in terms of business performance and in terms of social impact, right? So the MESEDEV program has that peculiar value added to the national roadmap, right? And of course, when we talk about pushing for social entrepreneurship in the Philippines, we'd like, of course, to recognize the contribution of our former mentor, right? Our mentor, right? Who had passed during the start of COVID, Dr. Eduardo A. Morato Jr., who really designed the MESEDEV program and started this postgraduate course on social entrepreneurship and social enterprise development. And the course its history can actually be traced back to Dr. Morato's lifetime in social entrepreneurship and enterprise development. In fact, the first edition of his book, Social Entrepreneurship and Enterprise Development, was published way back in 1994. And that's actually considered as the first publication, the first book on the subject matter. Of course, social entrepreneurship and social enterprise development has been around for years, decades, and even centuries. But this was the first time that the subject matter was tackled for what it is in a full-blown publication, right? And during that time, Professor Morato or Dr. Morato was tasked by his former academic institution, the Asian Institute of Management, to really research on entrepreneurship towards the end of starting a full-blown postgraduate course on entrepreneurship. Of course, Dr. Morato's first love was social entrepreneurship, but during the early stages of the 90s, it didn't have the awareness, right, or the popularity that it would have now. And for Prof. Morato, when I asked him about it, delving on entrepreneurship per se was really his means to generate interest for entrepreneurship and enterprise development first and foremost. And when awareness, right, has improved as regards entrepreneurship, then that's the time when he can get people to get into his first love, which is social entrepreneurship. So the master's course that he was designing, right, was really for enterprises. And the main insight that he got out of it was, of course, during the time, the numbers would be a bit lower. But with the current stats, there are a total of over 1 million enterprises in the Philippines, right? And as you can see with the data, 99.5% are actually MSMEs, and just 0.5% would fall under the large enterprises. And to his mind, during the time when he was designing a course that would really fit the need of entrepreneurs, he had the insight that the MBA program, right, mostly cater to the large enterprises and their needs as regards professionally managing these large enterprises. So your usual enrollees in the MBA programs, right, would be your top level managements or your management officers or people in these large enterprises. So the main question that he had was, what about the MSMEs? They had a specific profile, they had specific needs. A lot of entrepreneurs really don't want to read. So what about them? What program can specifically cater to their needs, right? And hence, the Master in Entrepreneurship program was born. And it really started with Asian Institute of Management in 1999. But after a decade, the team of Dr. Morato, the gurus of the ME program, transferred the entire program to Ateneo de Manila University through its Ateneo Graduate School of Business in Rockwell, of course, in Makati City, right? And after a couple of years in the ME program in Ateneo, right, going back to the history of his first love, Dr. Morato said that it's time to really start implementing the social entrepreneurship course already. So there was enough traction, and it's about time to introduce it already, right? And hence, the MESEDEV program, which is a partnership really with Ateneo, between Ateneo de Manila University's Graduate School of Business and Bayan Academy, of course, with its implementing unit, Bayan Innovation Group, started the Master in Entrepreneurship for Social Enterprise Development, right? The MESEDEV program. And the MESEDEV program has a couple of key features, right? Relative to what I said, would address the specific needs of entrepreneurs, and in this case, social entrepreneurs, right? The first key feature is that practicing social entrepreneurs actually enroll with their social enterprises as their course-long learning laboratory. So you cannot join the MESEDEV program if you don't have a social enterprise lab, which will be co-enrolled with you, right? Why is that? You'll find out in the next points, right? The second one is it adopts a real-time case method approach, right? What does this mean? The cases are up to date. It's really relative to actual social entrepreneurs and actual social enterprises, not just in the Philippines, but in other jurisdictions as well, because learning about how it's done in different jurisdictions actually adds value to the knowledge that is brought home by the students, right? And when we say real time, it's also always related to the actual social enterprises of the students, right? So towards the end of case discussions, students actually are asked, therefore, how does it apply to your actual social enterprise situation? And as a mentoring course, every batch is assigned with a guru or a master. So there's an output, which I will discuss in the next point. And the guru, right, serves as a fellow journeyman, or in the upcoming batch, the journey woman, right, with the student as he or she goes through the journey of the MESEDEV, right? And it will require a three-part social enterprise plan. So later on, as I discuss the design of the program, you'll understand more about the content of this social enterprise plan. And students are evaluated based on actual social enterprise performance. Hence why you need to co-enroll your social enterprise. So not on quizzes, there are no quizzes, there are no exams. Classroom participation, of course, is highly encouraged because that's where the learning happens. But the students are not graded based on those. They're actually based on the actual performance of the social enterprise that's co-enrolled with them as their learning laboratory. And much of the performance can be derived with how the students actually frame their social enterprise plans. So it has an 18-month MESEDEV design, right? It's a misnomer, the 18-month program, because actually there are 90 class days, right? But it's misleading to say that it's only 90 class days long, because in between those 90 class days, the social entrepreneurs, the enrollees, the students, would have to apply everything in their own social enterprise laboratories, right? And that those would all become inputs to their social enterprise plans. So the program actually has three modules: preparing for social entrepreneurship and self-enhancement, right? Creating and running the social enterprise and self-engagement, and growing the social enterprise and self-enlightenment. So you can see that it's akin to the actual social enterprise life cycle of starting with the social entrepreneur, going through the process of social entrepreneurship, starting the social enterprise, and growing the social enterprise, right? So the MESEDEV program brings all its students through that social enterprise life cycle. Then it has 5 learning domains: self-mastery, of course. The mantra, the philosophy of the course is that before you can become good managers of your social enterprises, you have to become good managers of yourselves, first and foremost. Social entrepreneuring. So how do you actually seek opportunities, screen for these opportunities, and seize opportunities? Strategic management. So really starting with a very good vision for your social enterprise, cascading it to measurable end results, right? Uh, Turning those outcomes into the right strategies, what strategies would best deliver those outcomes, and breaking down those strategies into detailed programs, activities, tasks, all the way to resource mobilization. But of course, social enterprises are enterprises. So functional management is a key component of the program. So everyone will be brought through the marketing, operations, HR, and finance functions. Last but not the least, social enterprise planning. And as I said a while ago, it's a 3-part social enterprise plan wherein the students would have to deliver an external environment assessment. So everything, all the variables outside of the social enterprise, the internal environment assessment, all the variables within the social enterprise, and of course, strategy implementation, or the actual social enterprise plan. By the end of the 18 months, the students would have mastered themselves, right, as an outcome, mastered the situation upon which their social enterprises are operating in, and mastered their own social enterprises, right? So that's the gist of the entire program design, right? And just to walk you through a couple of the outcomes. So these were data that were compared from when these social enterprises, before they actually joined MESEDEV, and data a year after their MESEDEV graduation. So I'll be walking you through 3 social enterprise graduates. Coffee for Peace. A year after MESEDEV, their sales increased by 47%. Cost of goods sold were decreased from 68% to 19%. And with the added bottom line, the increased performance, they were able to expand in new conflict affected areas because Coffee for Peace really works with communities that are in conflict, right? Conflict affected areas. And the livelihood that they're generating is their means to create peace in that area, to veer these community members away from joining armed groups, right? Villa Socorro Farm, which is really a farm anchored on banana production, right? And processing it into various product lines. So their sales increased after their MESEDEV graduation, increased by 232% from 3 million to 37.5 million. Net income grew by 581%, and their number of farmer partners grew from 60 to 150, 150% increase. Last example would be Segunda Mana, right? Whose sales increased from 31 million to 62.5 million, 100% increase. Their net income from 12 million to 31.85 million, 151% increase. And their number of scholars funded through their bottom line, right? There was an additional 263, or an increase of 19%. And their number of MSME beneficiaries grew from 89 to a staggering 1,023. So a 1,049% increase. So that's just from a year after they joined MESEDEV. And you see right in front of you the different alumni of the MESEDEV program, right? And because it's paradoxical that after going through those 18 months of deep learning in social entrepreneurship and enterprise development, it's paradoxical that all the graduates seem to want to learn more, right? They seem to have a realization that they have become more aware that there's so much more to learn, right, about their social enterprises and social enterprise development in general. And hence, the alumni formed themselves, organized themselves into the Society for the Advancement of Professional Social Entrepreneurship, or SAPSE, which has the vision, really, of a Philippines that embraces social entrepreneurship. And it's also a means for the alumni of the MESEDEV program to help each other towards their shared goal of lifelong learning, right? And of course, with the COVID pandemic, we were able to transition the MESEDEV program into its online MESEDEV delivery, right? And with the online MESEDEV, we are ready. Ateneo Graduate School of Business, Bayan Academy, and Bayan Innovation Group are ready to democratize the program for professional social entrepreneurs nationwide, right? So that's really just the history and the content of the MESEDEV program. And of course, now the participants in this session would like to hear more or learn more about the program through those who are deeply involved in the program as well. So the first one, whom I will call, is Professor Pinky Po, right? And she'll be walking us through her own experience as a social entrepreneur, right, before and after MESEDEV. And she'll be sharing with us her own journey as an educator of social enterprises and social entrepreneurs before and after MESEDEV. And just a snippet of what you can expect if you are to join MESEDEV Batch 5, because she's going to serve as the batch guru. Professor Pinky?
Yeah, thank you, Carlo. So I want to share my MESEDEV journey. Actually, was not a straight line. Lots of twists and turns, and it's something to be expected. But if you are open to learning, you will really find your way. I came from the corporate world. I was in finance. My first job at Unilever was marketing. Then I went through finance, and prior to going full time into the development sector, I actually headed internal audit for the biggest oilfield services company in the world, and I was based in the US. So but at 40, I decided that I would devote my life. It's like one eureka moment to the development sector, and I early retired. I sold my businesses, and I did it. But there was something like about my entrepreneurial journey in social enterprise, pre-MESEDEV, clearly, that just didn't jive. Like I was wondering how come I could make my other businesses earn, but I could not make my social enterprises earning and sustainable. And I put the same speed, with a group of friends. We put up in economics, we put up about 50 enterprises in 75 Gawad Galinga communities, just like that, like in 4 years. But none of them were sustainable without us. And that was the first challenge. That is what made me enroll in the MESEDEV. Because people were asking me honestly, like, you're so experienced, where you came from, why are you even going to put yourself through this? And I said, because I have, maybe I'm seeing this so wrong. Maybe I need to learn to think about this very differently. So that was the kind of social entrepreneur I was prior to the MESEDEV. A very separate mind for business and a very separate mind for social impact. Parang I was running it as a charity when in fact enterprise is the noun and social was the adjective for it to be sustainable. It also made me really think differently. Kasi in my mind, as long as I'm helping, okay na. But I knew there was something nagging me na this cannot go on like this. So I enrolled in the MESEDEV. And during the MESEDEV, this is really what happened to me. Uh, the first thing I learned was that if I'm going to help, but I cannot do it sustainably, am I really helping? Or am I giving false hope to people na iiwanan ko rin after a while because panay magfe-fail? And then, parang there were snippets of everything that I felt. I knew this, but the magic that I felt during my journey in the MESEDEV was in the frameworks. Parang, all of this, kasi people will always tell you, you know your enterprise the best. No one knows your enterprise better than you. But in the wrong frameworks pala, they could just be information and data all over, and you're wondering why it's not working. So the MESEDEV really gave me frameworks where enterprise and social intersected so well that you can really run it as an enterprise, profitable, sustainable, and still making social impact. And as Carlos said, yung post MESEDEV, wala na. It's like, once your eyes have been opened to the opportunity, constant scanning, seeking, and screening and deciding what to seize. It's nonstop. You keep seeing these opportunities, but you have now the discipline to know which ones are yours to seize. That not everything that's free is for me. Yung usual ng social and entrepreneur. So if it's free, it's for me. Hindi. There are costs to everything, including your time. But the constant wanting to learn. Grabe, we're always looking for ways to improve what we do. So for, parang for me also, like in the corporate world, it was, we always think, the SWOT. Like people, everybody knows what SWOT. But the MESEDEF had a way of putting bridges across those four buckets such that they were not four just buckets there, but your strategic options, what you can really do for your business, were becoming very clear because of the bridges between those strengths, weakness, opportunities, threats that we all know how to name, but sometimes cannot connect. The MESEDEV really has the frameworks that help me connect those. So in terms of my journey as an entrepreneur, tuloy-tuloy. Like there's no such thing as, it won't work. Tapos na, hindi. Oh, this one won't work. What's my next pivot? How can I improve? It's constant. And I can also say the learning did not just apply to my social enterprise. It applied to my personal life as well, whether it was personal investments, other decisions to be made. The frameworks really, really helped me. The self mastery, the enlightenment. And as an educator, so dati, ang idea ko ng turo, skills. You teach, you train a community. It was all training and skills. Training and skills. And you think that once you give weaving training for 3 days, they will go on to earn from weaving for the rest of their lives. It's all just skill. But post MESEDEV, it's really about how to think for themselves, how to learn while doing, learn before doing, learn while doing, learn after doing, and the constant cycle that made the difference in the teaching that we do, even for communities and workshops and in the course. Talagang, talagang towards sustainability and self like they can do it even without us constantly hand-holding. Dati ang concept, kailangan ng constant hand-holding. Nag-iba din. From skills to learning how to think and learning while doing and so that's how my journey naman as an educator like moved ganon. So and sa ni Carlo, sabihin ko rin daw, anong expectations ko sa students. If you join the MESEDEV, the first thing I'm going to ask you to do when you enter the room is to leave your ego and your pride at the door. Because you learn, because that's what happened to me, learn the hard way. Sometimes your success or yourself is the biggest obstacle. Parang you feel you come in, I've already been doing this for a while. Alam ko na to. And you realize that there's so much more that you don't know. And if you just allow yourself that, break that mindset, I'll be willing to say na, kala ko alam ko, hindi pala, or what I thought was right all along, may better way. If you just walk in with that attitude, that's mga 1/3. Kasi the other part, the 2/3, I'm really going to challenge you. I'm going to push you. I'm going to challenge you to be to your to the bring out the best that you can in the enterprise that you're running, including probably telling you if you are the biggest obstacle. Kasi when I did my business plan for mine in batch 1, I found out that I was the biggest obstacle to making a big plan for my enterprise. Kasi iniisip ko lang yung kaya ko lang gawin. But if you take yourself out and really allow your plan to show what your enterprise can be based on the market study that you did. Ang laki. Bakit ito lang? Ang laki-laki, hindi nag-jive sa market study. Takot pala ikaw gagawa lahat. No. Part of the challenge is to build a team. So, it will include that na medyo atras ka as a person, personal mo. Ano talaga ang kaya nitong enterprise mo? And ikaw as a person, parang bitin pa. There's still a lot of the mastery to do. So that's the pushing that will really happen. So I hope that you will think about it seriously, because the biggest challenge I think at this point for a lot of entrepreneurs is really themselves and just be open kasi ang dami-daming malilearn, ang daming industry experts who come in, and there's so much you realize that you can do.
Thank you very much, Prof. Thank you for those insights. So those insights came from a person who went through MESEDEV and is now contributing for MESEDEV, right, and how it's run. Because, like she said, after you go through it, it's really a lifetime of service. You realize that you're in it for the long haul, right? That's the kind of realization that you will have, because there's so much to do in as far as social entrepreneurship, and you can't stop being involved, right? So thank you for that, Prof. Pinky. For the rest of the participants in the room, if you have any questions for Prof. Pinky, myself, and the rest of the participants here and after, please do utilize the chat box. There's a live chat function, and there's also a Q&A function. Just ask them away, and I'll try my best to answer through the chat box and later on through the Q&A portion of our session. So the next speaker is no less than the CEO of FICCO, whose leaders believed in the program and in what it can do, right? In terms of social innovation, because they're a cooperative, they're supposed to innovate with their members, right? And the values that the program espouses, right? They so believed in it that they enrolled 30 initially stakeholders within the FICO operations, right? So much more that they actually took on an entire batch. So the entire MESEDEV batch 4 is actually leaders of FICO, who actually their branches and their areas of operations within the context of the program as separate social enterprises, right? So with Sir Egay, we can find out, given that they're now in the process of concluding their batch, MESEDEV 4, what are the tangible what are the tangible value additions of MESEDEV that he actually sees or he actually saw in his own leaders, right? As they went through the MESEDEV program. Yes, Sir Egay?
First of all, I would like to thank Bayan Academy and BPI Foundation for having me part of this 2023 Philippine Social Entrepreneurship Summit. We appreciated the MESEDEV program, which opens the window for cooperative leaders to have a better perspective and deeper understanding of social enterprise role in the community. This was the first time that we sent 30 branch managers to attend the MESEDEV program. At first, there was that resistance and negative reactions considering that they have finished their undergrad 12 years and beyond. This reaction is common considering that master's degree programs are more difficult than other undergrad programs. I have a hard time explaining to them the importance of MESEDEV program, for I believe that the only way for the branch managers to level up is by enrolling them to this program. They themselves can adapt the new way or the better way of doing business. For the first few months, I commonly hear from them saying that it's very difficult to study and work at the same time. They said that they were complaining because they have to read hundreds of pages to defend the orals. and they had a hard time in their external analysis. So after 18 months of the program, I saw improvements from the MESEDEV scholars. No, I call them scholars. I happened to talk to some of them, and they were sharing their experiences on how they survived and how they were able to hurdle the challenges and made them understand better the role of PICO as a social enterprise that will have that social impact to our members and to the community where PICO operates. A positive feedbacks from their subordinates and even regional managers on the improvements on the way they handle and lead their people towards their annual goal and their day-to-day operation where every staff is involved. There was even a case where branch managers resembles to be autocracy. However, improvements have been noticed, especially on the way the managers handles its subordinates and openness to new ideas. In addition, a manager in Davao area is supposed to open a business center in Santa Cruz, Davao. And while applying the external analysis through FGD interview and survey, she found out that the peace and order is one of the major problems in the area. Hence, she decided not to pursue the area and recommended another area which is Talumo, Davao. At present, every time we discuss activities for the community, the managers now our scholars would say that, what's the social impact? The MESEDEV program has changed the mindset and outlook of our branch managers. The MESEDEV program has transformed them in their personal and social system. According to them, the MESEDEV build confidence and strengthen in the way they make decisions. More so, they are more confident because they are graduate and soon graduate from Ateneo Graduate School for Business. The managers disclosed that the program allowed them to think outside of the box, develop their critical thinking as part of the process, and work strategically to hit their desired goal for both financial and non-financial. Experience of one of the managers, she was telling the professor that the branch was awarded for being the highest in membership. But she was challenged by the professor that if you continue to get that award, that will be the time that I will believe you. The appreciate approach of the gurus for always challenging them and questioning everything that they do. A professor that pushes you to the limits, for they always want the branch to excel in all areas. The performance of the branch managers who are part of the MESEDEV program has somehow contributed to the result of our operation in 2022. We were able to reduce our provision for bad debts by 108.14 million. Membership is increased by 17,112. Assets grows by 18.27 billion, and net revenue for the year is 719 million. On that note, in behalf of the Board of Directors, Management and Staff of FICCO, again, we thank Bayan Academy and Ateneo Graduate School for Business, especially the gurus, Prof. Carlo, Prof. Lito, Prof. Aris, Prof. J, and the rest of the gurus for stretching their understanding and patience. As part of the commitment of our MESEDEV scholars, they will help recommend that this program will continue for the next batches of managers and second liners and convince them that MESEDEV program has made a difference in their lives. As the CEO of FICCO, I find the program very valuable to our managers and supervisors. We will continue sending students to be part of the MESEDEV program. And in sum, if we move in one direction based on our roadmaps, same understanding of what social enterprise is, and achieve the social impact that we dream for in one way or the other, we have contributed to the wealth redistribution, poverty reduction, and nation building of our country. Thank you and good afternoon to everyone.
Thank you very much, Sir Egay, for that communication of the transformation of your own leaders and how you relate it really to their journey within the MESEDEV program. Of course, we wish FICCO all the best, and we hope that the upcoming students of FICCO for MESEDEV Batch 5 can share the same experience. So now we learned about the MESEDEV program from the head, the CEO of an institution that enrolled a lot of its leaders in the program. Let's now hear about a student who's about to hopefully graduate from the course, right? So they've ended their course, their classroom requirements. What's left for them to do is just to defend their final social enterprise plans. So Donald, the batch representative of MESEDEV 4.
Yes, Prof. Thank you. I share my screen first.
Donald, let's keep it short and fast so we can hear the synthesis of Dean Jet.
So can you see my screen?
Yes, Donald.
Okay. So this is my MESEDEV journey. So I guess my classmates are present today. So I am tasked to to do the MESEDEV journey of mine. So good afternoon, everyone. I'm Donald H. Docto. I am currently enrolled in MESEDEV program under the supervision of Bayan Academy. This afternoon, I will share my experience in the MESEDEV program. So siguro ito po yung paano ba ang MESEDEV naging tulay sa pagbabago. So we are 31 in the class and we are in 90 days class days through online platform. So ano ba yung natutunan namin sa MESEDEV or personally sa akin? So by the way, I would like to introduce my branch. So I am the branch manager of First Community Cooperative Community Branch. So ito po yung branch namin. So what are my learnings during the MESEDEV program? So una is talaga patak sa aming mga classmate is yung personal transformation. MESEDEV journey changed my outlook in life. So pinamulat ng MESEDEV sa akin being a social enterprise na di lang tayo nag-exist for profit, but we exist for a great purpose. A purpose to uplift the standard of living for especially for our direct beneficiaries, our members. So binago niya yung pananaw ko being a leader from a profit-centered to a member-centric leader. The true meaning of social enterprise is talaga service to members. So ang pagbabago ay hindi naman madalian, ito ay isang proseso, hindi naman ito nangyayari sa isang segundo lang. So with MESEDEV, the change is coming. But before we implement change, the change must be first coming within ourselves. We must first change for a better and make ourselves whole. Na remember ko yung isang sa lesson namin sa MESEDEV na yung sa self-mastery. So it is a deep dive understanding of oneself. So MESEDEV mold me into a better person. MESEDEV shape the best version of me. So number 2 is yung importance of external and internal analysis. So ito, na-appreciate talaga namin ang kahalagahan ng pagsagawa ng isang external at saka internal analysis. Ang pagsagawa ng internal analysis or external analysis isang mahalagang aspeto sa isang enterprise. It gives a deep understanding of the external factors that directly affects the operation sa ating enterprise. Like the competitor, especially those na nag-o-offer ng mga products and services na katulad sa ating siniservice ng mga members. Like the industry that fuels the economic activity na maaaring magbigay sa atin ng opportunity na ma-serve at matap yung mga industry na yun to be future partners ng industry, ng enterprise natin. Also, the political and local policies na maaaring maka-apekto sa operasyon ng ating negosyo. So these are some of the external factors that may give opportunity or in the other way, pose threat sa ating enterprise. The next is the internal analysis. So the internal analysis for me is housekeeping. I learned to understand better the process and operation of a true social enterprise. Dito sa internal analysis ay pinakita sa atin kung gaano tayo kalakas but at the same time, sinasampal talaga sa atin yung kahinaan natin na minsan masakit mang tanggapin na yung kahinaan na yun ay galing mismo sa leader. So number 3 is yung social impact. So FICCO as a community-based cooperative is also considered a social enterprise. Pero the social impact was not yet given much emphasis sa amin. That is why napakahirap talaga during our classes na sasabihan ka ng professor mo na what is the social impact? What is the matrix of the social impact? So how do you measure social impact? So parang nga kaming lahat pero as the class goes na unti-unti naming nalaman na mahalaga talaga ang social impact lalo na sa ating mga members or sa mga beneficiary natin para malaman natin na effective yung mga products and services na na kanilang ina-avail sa atin. So dito din I learned na being a social impact, you must possess a triple bottom line. So the peso, people, and the planet. So yung peso is, yung a social enterprise needs to be profitable for survival and sustainability. So, and to be profitable and sustainability, an enterprise must care for its valuable investment, the human capital. So, giving them salary and benefit plus investing for its growth and development is a priority. So, next is the planet. A social enterprise must address to the sustainable development goals. We may not address all the 17 problems of the world, but at least we need to first address the problems of our community we belong. In our little way, we would somehow contribute to the bigger scope of eradicating these problems. And lastly, going through MESEDEV is a life-changing experience. At masasabi kong life has never been the same after MESEDEV. So, at this moment, I would like to give my salute and gratitude to our CEO, Mr. Edgardo Micayabas, for enrolling us, his young leaders, into the MESEDEV program. And I quote what he said to us na, sabi niya, kailangan kong i-ready yung mga tao ko kasi sila yung next na mag-handle ng cooperative. I want to secure the brighter future of FICCO for the members. So, kailangan na yung mga successor namin must see to it that they are ready and equipped with the required knowledge and ability to run the cooperative as we pass it on to you. Yun yung sinabi ng CEO namin sa amin. So, talagang malaki yung responsibility namin as MESEDEV MESEDEV scholars na talagang ipapasa talaga namin itong course na to. And to our gurus, Prof. Lito, Domingo, and Prof. Aris Patawaran, and to all our professors for your undying support, your patience, and words of encouragement during those downtimes. Daghan kaayong salamat sa inyong tanan. Marami pong salamat, and once again, good afternoon.
Thank you, Donald, for that presentation. It's heartwarming that, imagine yourself from day one, and now you can connect everything to your own social impact, and even to the SDGs. Imagine that you can make a speech with all those sessions that we had gone through, right? So before we transition to no less than the Dean of the Ateneo Graduate School of Business, Dean Jet, I'd like to announce to everyone that we'll be extending this session to up to 3:10 or 3:15, such that Dean Jet can give his full synthesis, given everything that's been said throughout the session, and we can still accommodate your questions in a short Q&A portion, right? So, Dean Jet?
Yes, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you, Carlo. Well, first we heard from Prof. Carlo about the history and the concept of the program, and also the details of how it's conducted. Thank you, Prof. Carlo, and thank you for our partnership with the Bayan Innovation Group and Ateneo Graduate School of Business. And of course, we heard from Prof. Pinky how well she personifies the many challenges of a social entrepreneur, how she challenged herself based, from her well-told story, and how as a guru, you're going to look forward to how she will challenge you to become a better entrepreneur, to be a better leader, to be a better manager, and in the process, hopefully, to be a better person. Thank you, Prof. Pinky. And Sir Egay, of course, proof of concept, ang narinig natin kay Sir Egay, from the CEO of an entire organization. And salamat, Sir Egay, for your trust in the program. And also, congratulations in your trust in your people and your belief in your people to become successful social entrepreneurs. Katulad ni Donald. At salamat, Donald, sa iyong pagbahagi ng iyong kwento. And really, you really put it well when you said personal transformation. For an organization to change, the people have to change. And in social enterprise, the leader has to change. And thank you, Donald, for telling it so well. At napakaganda na pagkabigas mo, Donald. Tulay ng pagbabago. I will always remember this, right? And really, the tulay, dalawa yung tulay. as you will continue to learn throughout MESEDEV, um, your enterprise and yourself. Okay. So if I were to summarize three questions about MESEDEV from the point of view of the Ateneo Graduate School of Business in partnership with Bayan: why, how, and when? So first, let's go to the why. Okay. Uh, as you heard from Prof. Carlo, MESEDEV program represents a key position in the mission of the Ateneo Graduate School of Business. It's a unique program. It's the only master's level program for social entrepreneurship in the country. And it serves a key element in our school's mission. It used to be, not too long ago, right? Even as recent as 3 years ago, before the pandemic, that business and social were two dimensions and they were separate dimensions. But among the many things that we would have learned during this public health crisis is that there is just one dimension, right? That business has a role in contributing to society. And therefore, there should be no dichotomy. And MESEDEV represents the best of that spirit. Um, and that's why, we have been emboldened to refashion our own mission to be a leading management learning institution, yes, but also to help develop responsible business leaders with integrity and conviction to advance a sustainable society based on human dignity. So, management and learning, if you put these two together, it means to professionalize social enterprises to make an impact on society. And because, as Carla pointed out, social enterprises reach deeper and farther into communities and therefore into society, our aspiration is to help these communities through social enterprise. So, at the Ateneo Graduate School of Business, we're fond of saying our country is our business. The next question is how? How can AGSB through the MESEDEV program contribute to the National Social Enterprise Development Roadmap? First of all, we remain committed to make the program available for Philippine social enterprises. We're committed to making sure we continue to run in partnership with Bayan, the MESEDEV program, to further the growth and success of business and social performance. Okay, no dichotomy, right? And then how also, in terms of how you will learn, we are committed to our hybrid learning mode. So right now it's fully online when we have the opportunity, of course, and we're in the other programs, we're learning how to do this, to do it partly on site, therefore hybrid, where some will be online, some will be on site. And just now I was teaching a class where we have invested in technology to help do that quite seamlessly and quite smoothly. So we'll make that available. I can see that that was one of the questions that Prof. Carlo answered. And then when? All right. So MESEDEV Batch 5 applications are ongoing and will wrap up on the first day of the program on April 12th. So we have almost 2 months available for continuing to welcome those who would like to be part of this batch. Those who would like to be to welcome to their challenge, to be challenged by our guru, Prof. Pinky, right? For yourself and for your enterprise. And of course, as we said, we're ongoing. So MESEDEV Batch 6 will open towards the latter half of school year 2023-2024. The school year starts in June. So it could be at any time towards the latter half of this calendar year or the beginning of next calendar year. So my invitation to everybody is we do have a booth here in the summit. Please visit the Ateneo booth where we can answer all of your questions. We can guide you and shepherd you into the program itself. And we all look forward to seeing you in this coming batch or in the upcoming batch 6. Thank you, and I'll return you back to Prof. Carlo.
Thank you very much, Dean Jet, for that general reaction to the rest of the speakers, and of course, anchoring the session on the why and the rest of the details of the message. But the why is the most important, in my opinion. And as an Atenean myself, it has always been said that Ateneans are men and women for others. And sometimes with the graduates of different courses, so the basic education, the undergraduate program, I see some people really scratching their heads as regards this mantra of becoming men and women for others. Is it just about boasting that you're supposed to lead an organization, right? Is it about becoming the boss of a certain company or a leading contributor to an industry? But to my mind, the MESEDEV really transforms its students to become men and women for others, figuratively and literally, right? So thank you for that, Dean Jet. So probably for the discussion portion, we can allot a few minutes for this. We can answer some of the questions in the live chat, and maybe later on, some can use the raise hand function if ever you'd like to really verbalize your questions. But please feel free to to use the live chat function for your question. So one question here is from Rashid Bongholan, wherein he asked, "How can we enroll to the MESEDEV, sir?" So, as Dean Jet mentioned, there are a few requirements that you would have to provide, right, such that the interview process can start. And those requirements you can readily see through the virtual booth of MESEDEV. So, the virtual booth function of this conference platform, you can find the MESEDEV booth. So please visit the MESEDEV booth, and there's a person there. Not you won't be able to see her, but you can use the chat function of the booth to inquire further about the details of the application process. Right. So MESEDEV booth in the virtual booth function. Please visit. Please drop by. And there's a question as regards from Jonathan Cruz, which I think is something that can be learned throughout the journey of a student in MESEDEV. Yesterday, it was mentioned that majority of the benefits of a social enterprise should accrue to its social mission. Can you expound more on this point and what that means financially for the entrepreneurs of social enterprises? I think that's a very good question that I can answer partially. And then I can also pass the floor over to my colleagues in the room. Probably Prof. Pinky and Sir Egay from their experience as a cooperative. So that actually is a third element of our philosophy of social enterprise. I say philosophy because we don't want to say it's the definition that boxes all social enterprises, because that means something for the cooperative sector, it means something altogether for the NGO sector, it means something altogether for the MSMEs, your traditional enterprises, right? And I think your question is really with regard to the main entrepreneur or of a certain enterprise, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's my understanding of it. And when you contextualize that particular element of really making sure that the benefits accrue to your social mission, right? The third element. Across different jurisdictions, that's the case for social enterprise development. And in fact, legal frameworks in more advanced jurisdictions in as far as the social enterprise sector has reflected this element in their social enterprise law. For instance, in Korea, right, it's required for organizations registered as social enterprises to ensure that 60% of their bottom line, right, is accrued to their social mission. Otherwise, they'll cease to be registered as a social enterprise, right? So in different jurisdictions, there are those parameters that have legally framed social enterprises. In the Philippines, there's no legal framework yet. We don't have a law yet recognizing social enterprises. So that's why in the subsectors of the roadmap, there are cooperatives, there are MSMEs, there are NGOs, etc. And they can be treated or considered as social enterprises in as far as they practice those elements. Now, what does that element specifically mean for the entrepreneur in terms of financial repercussions? Of course, if you're an enterprise, right? uh, strictly speaking, you're investing to grow your money, to grow your investment, right? And if you're really going through the social enterprise route and you really want to become a social enterprise, one way really of measuring how you've delivered your social mission effectively is if you have a very professional way of channeling your efforts, your time, your resources towards that social mission. And that's what that third element is really all about. Now, does that mean that you have to become poor if you're a social entrepreneur? No, because it just means that a good majority of your benefits must accrue to your social mission or to your beneficiaries. Now, strategically, for instance, if you'd like to earn 100 million for yourself, right? Then you can design your social enterprise performance such that that particular business outcome can accrue to yourself while still having enough performance to accrue a good majority of your benefits to your social mission, right? So strategically, right, you can design your social enterprise such that it gives you the personal benefits and at the same time it really delivers your social mission, right? So that's my 2 cents as regards that question. And maybe Prof. Pinky can add to that.
Yeah.
But probably before I transition to Prof. Pinky, that's why we consider co-ops as the quintessential social enterprise. Because
Yeah.
co-ops actually accrue all their benefits to their social mission. They divide their profits to all their members. The rest are plowed back to their social mission in growing their operations, right? Prof. Pinky?
Yeah. Thanks, Carlo. I would like to add, I agree with Carlo, no, on that you have to be profitable, to be sustainable, to be able to sustain your social mission. And that's why it's an extra challenge. It's hard enough to do business, but to do social business is harder because you really have, in the process of trying to be profitable and sustainable, you have to deliver your social impact. uh, Not everything is measured in pesos and centavos. I would say that part of ensuring that a good majority of the benefits accrue to your beneficiaries and allow you to do your mission is having a transformational relationship with your community and not just transactional. If you some people would say, well, I buy from a community. I buy the weave, for example, or I buy the baskets from them. If you just buy, purely buy, and you have done nothing for the transformation of the community into better productivity, maybe better sanitation, better education for the children. If you've done nothing transformational other than buy from them, that's a purely transactional uh, transaction. I mean, it's a purely transactional thing, and it does not further your social mission. So not everything is measured in actual pesos and cents, but if you're able to really improve the lives in doing your mission to help the community, then that is a lot of benefit accruing to your community. I would just like to add that transactional versus transformational.
Thank you, Prof. Pinky. Um, Probably Sir Egay can add to the discussion because that's the most interesting question in the live chat box. Aside from the admission requirements, the tuition fee, probably you can tell us more about how you really accrue your benefits to your own 400,000 members, and at the same time keep yourself profitable as an organization, sir.
Uh, in FICCO's case, no, every end of the year we have a budget, so we make the budget uh, more realistic, no, and then on that budget we have allocated certain percentage of our members' benefit, but not setting aside, no, because our mission is to improve the socio-economic condition of our members by providing excellent financial and non-financial services. So, in other words, on the side of our members, they're already secured, considering that both the insurance, the loans, somehow that helps them improve their quality of life. Secondly, we have allocated a community development fund that is that less than 3%, which will be given to the community as well. So in every year, at the end of the year, as we compute our dividends and patronage refund, we allocated certain funds in order to help those I would not say less fortunate, but those people who are in need of support, who are in need of some livelihood programs that will help them, increase their way of doing things. On the other hand, we have allocated 4% of our net income to our foundation, and they're doing also another activity that will help those PDL, person deprived of liberty, the agri sector, and everything, in the community that we think that needs help, that needs to for them to scale up, in order also that when they grow and when they develop, they can also share to others what they have, what they earn. So that's my point,
Mhm.
Prof. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sir Egay. Probably before we close, I can entertain one more question by Victor Abainza. How is your success factors for a church or religious organization for the past 5 cohorts? So I think I can answer it relative to my good friend Barry Kamike, right? Who's one of the cases that I showed to you a while ago, Segunda Mana, right? Segunda Mana is really the social enterprise arm of Caritas Manila, right? And as you can see, Barry was able to grow not just his profits, right? But in the course of doing so, right, he multiplied 1,000-fold his number of beneficiary MSMEs, and he was also able to increase his scholarship fund, of course, for their scholars, right? So there are a couple of ways of treating church or religious organizations. They can be treated as the social enterprise itself in as far as they are going to be functioning, right, as a business, right, in that regard. But they can have a program too that functions as a social enterprise, right, for their various development programs. So I think those are a couple of ways of thinking how a church or religious organization can be a part of the program. And the case that I told you a while ago is a success story. In fact, being part of batch one, Barry was our gold medalist, right? He was the one who generated the most performance in the batch, right? So that's my answer to Sir Victor. Thank you for that question. So with that, I would like to keep you here. I'm sure we can keep the discussion until 5 p.m., but we have to close it for you to be able to participate in other sessions as well. So in behalf of the co-panelists of this session, thank you, Dean Jet, thank you, Prof. Pinky, thank you, Sir Egay, thank you, Donald, for all the contributions. Thank you for those who asked questions. We hope that we generated interest or general awareness as regards a program that is really positioned to professionalize social entrepreneurs and social enterprise managers, right? There are upcoming batches, as Dean Jet said. For the details on how you can join or enroll, please visit the MESEDEV booth in the virtual booth. Ms. Ronaline Cabardo has a message, and you can just click on the link. And with that, we'd like to close the session, and we hope that we can see you in MESEDEV Batch 5, MESEDEV Batch 6, and all the batches to come. Right? Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to
Thank you.
everyone.